Let's talk about some good stuff. If we're going to talk about the good things that God has given us, then the perfect place to start is at the very beginning of the Bible in Genesis chapter 1. And I'm going to start at verse 26, because this summarizes God's whole work of creation in those 6 days. Moses writes, "Then God said, 'Let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the heavens, and over the livestock, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps on the earth.' So God created man in his own image. In the image of God he created him. Male and female he created them. And God blessed them. And God said to them, 'Be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the heavens, and over every living thing that moves on the earth.' And God said, 'Behold, I have given you every plant yielding seed that is on the face of the earth, and every tree with seed in its fruit. You shall have them for food. And to every beast of the earth, and to every bird of the heavens, and to everything that creeps on the earth, everything that has the breath of life, I have given every green plant for food.' And it was so. And God saw everything that he had made, and behold, it was very good. And there was evening, and there was morning, the sixth day." What a wonderful description, summary of the good things that God has given us, at least some of the good things that God has given us. Good stuff, that's what we're talking about. And today, I especially, rather than get really specific about good things, I want to use this text to point out something really important. And that is that if we're going to be talking about the good stuff, we need to recognize that there is a created order to everything, right? And what that means is, at least part of what that means is, there are, that the good things that we're looking for, that they are good within the order in which they were created. Good things are good within the particular context or the particular relationship that they were created to be in. And if you take them out of that context, if you take them out of that relationship, they lose, at the very least, they lose part of what makes them good. And at worst, the good actually becomes bad. Does that make sense? Taken out of context, good things can actually become bad things. I don't know if this is the greatest example, but it's sort of like this. Have you ever had a thing that you did with someone that you loved? Maybe it was a spouse, and that spouse has passed away, or a parent. Maybe it was something you did as a child with your parents, and maybe they're still around, but it's just you don't have that young child-parent relationship anymore. You live in a different place, and you're not able to do it anymore. But there was something. Maybe it was going fishing, or playing golf, or going to the movies, or some fun activity, some meaningful activity that has lost a little bit of its funness, a little bit of its meaning, because they're not around to do it with anymore. You may still do it, you may still enjoy it, but it's lost something. It becomes not just a joyful moment like it was pure joy as a child, but it's become maybe bittersweet, or just bitter, because that thing, even though you can still do it, has been taken out of the context of the relationship that you had with the person who is gone. And it kind of hurts even to think about it. You see how the joy had a context? The thing that made that moment good, at least part of what made that moment good, was the relationship. And when you take that good thing out of the relationship, at the very least it loses something, and it may even hurt. An example that I have is, I've shared this in Bible class, I think, before, just because I like talking. But went on a trip, maybe the first trip since I've had children, where my boys did not come along. It was just my wife and my daughter and I. And we were in a place, near a place. We were there for a wedding, but we were near a place that was a wildlife, wide open, huge wildlife refuge on the other side of the country. And I knew that I would find wildlife, birds that I had never seen anywhere else. and I couldn't not go. So I got up early the day of the wedding, before the wedding, to go look for at least 3-4 hours, because it was a huge area. Now, I have a terrible time identifying things. I need two of my boys to help me with that. They weren't there, but I was going to try. And I went. I took as many pictures as I could so that I could identify later those things that I wasn't sure what they were. They could help me identify. I was constantly sending them pictures. The problem is where I was out in the middle of nowhere, so I couldn't talk to them on the phone. I had no cell service. I couldn't pass things on to them to find out what it was. I was totally dependent on taking pictures and recording and showing it to them later. And the batteries on my camera went out, so I couldn't take pictures. I was completely on my own in a place that I loved, surrounded by all kinds of things that were new, and it should have been awesome, and in a way it was awesome, but I couldn't identify anything. And so I just had to accept the fact that without my boys there, I was going to kind of fail in what I wanted to do. I tried to keep them there with me, but the technology failed me and it didn't work. And there was this one moment, I'm driving along the side of the road and I saw a coyote, and I pulled over, and this is when I realized that my camera was running out of battery power. And this coyote was fighting a northern harrier, which is kind of like a hawk. The northern harrier was far above it, and it was coming down and attacking. And the coyote got tired of being attacked, so it started jumping up. 6 feet easy, maybe 10. I don't know. How high can a coyote jump? Way up in the air trying to catch this harrier. So the harrier would come down and go up, and the coyote would jump way up in the air to try to catch it. It was a wildlife moment, and I couldn't get pictures. I had nobody to share it with. And as much as I was excited about it, I was heartbroken, because what I really love about going out and doing this stuff is sharing it with my boys. And as much as I did enjoy the moment, I also felt really alone in that moment. Probably you've had a situation like that too. Now, you can take this much further into much more meaningful, much more important things, I guess you could say. But I really want to emphasize this, the created order of things. The order is part of what makes God's good gifts good. And if you try to take the good gift out of its context, you're going to do damage to that gift, maybe even making it a bad thing. Again, this is such an important thing to apply to our lives. For example, in relationships. Everybody wants to be in a relationship for one purpose or another. And sometimes they want a thing out of a relationship without the commitment in the relationship, right? And it doesn't work. It doesn't work because you've taken it out of its context, right? And what you end up with when you take the things you want out of a relationship and try to leave the rest, is you end up with unhealthy relationships. You've taken a good thing and you've made it a bad thing, right? So it's really important that we understand God's created order when we're talking about these good things. And I wanted to offer that as a preface before I start sharing things in nature and talking about relationships and all of that sort of stuff, because I don't want to give you the impression that these things are good in and of themselves. They're good as God's gifts to you. And so it's important that they stay in the context in which God has put them. I hope that makes sense to you, because I really think this is fundamentally important to the conversation that I really want to have with you. And again, I do want it to be a conversation. So if you have thoughts on this or questions, if I wasn't clear, if you disagree, whatever, let me know so that we can talk further about it. Otherwise, next week, start jumping into some of those good things that God has given us. I hear the weather's going to be awesome, so there's a pretty good chance that the good things I'm going to be sharing with you is February in southern Indiana. And some of you are probably laughing because you're thinking that is one of the worst times of the year in southern Indiana. But I'm hoping that I have a chance to get out and to prove you wrong with some of God's awesome creation. We'll see what happens. God bless you all. God bless your week. Don't forget, the best thing that God has given is the gift of his Son. And he is going to be here with his gifts of forgiveness, life, and salvation. In fact, Jesus is coming with the whole kingdom of heaven to Concordia Lutheran Church. We're going to study his word at 9 o'clock, the wonderful gift of his word. And you are welcome to enjoy it, to join us. That's at 9 o'clock. We're downstairs at Concordia. And then at 10:30, Christ himself is present, giving us his word and his sacraments. At 10:30, you are most welcome to join us if you're in the Evansville area. If you're kind of far away, well, it's Saturday. You've got more than a couple hours. You better get in the car though. God bless you all. God bless your week.